Saint of the Day. July 9. Saint Augustine Zhao Rong and his 119 companions. Martyrs. Died, 1648–1930 AD Qing Dynasty and the Republic of China. Martyred by Boxer Rebellion, etc. Venerated in Roman Catholic Church. Beatified, November 24, 1946 Pope Pius XII. Canonized, October 1, 2000 Pope John Paul II. Feast, July 9. The Martyr Saints of China, or Augustine Zhao Rong and his 119 companions, are saints of the Roman Catholic Church. The 87 Chinese Catholics and 33 Western missionaries, from the mid-17th century to 1930, were martyred because of their ministry and, in some cases, for their refusal to apostatize. On October 1, 2000, Pope John Paul II canonized 120 Catholics martyred in China between 1648 and 1930. Of these, 87 were indigenous Chinese and 33 were missionaries. 86 died during the Boxer Rebellion in 1900. 3 were indigenous Chinese priests: Father Augustine Zhao Rong, Father Joseph Yuan, and Father Thaddeus Liu. Others were lay catechists, seminarians, widows and young women, farmers, servants, and cooks. Early attempts to evangelize China. Nestorian Christianity was first preached in China in the 5th century and lasted for about 2 centuries. A second Christian presence was established during the Mongol times when Franciscan missionary John of Montecervino, 1247–1328, was named Archbishop of Beijing, but this disappeared after about 40 years when the Ming dynasty came to power in 1368. Jesuit Matteo Ricci and the Chinese Rites, 16th century. In 1552, Saint Francis Xavier died on the island of Shangchuan before he actually reached the mainland of China. 30 years later the Italian Jesuit priest Matteo Ricci arrived in Macau, then under Portuguese influence, and began learning Chinese. By 1598 he was in Beijing, and through his love and respect for Chinese customs as well as his expertise in astronomy and mathematics, he had obtained a position of influence at the imperial court. Some Chinese, influenced by Ricci's Christian spirit, asked for baptism and became fervent Christians while preserving their Chinese identity and culture. Christianity was not seen as opposed to Chinese values, but as enriching them with a new dimension. The Jesuits allowed participation in traditional Chinese ritual celebrations in honor of their ancestors. However, when Pope Clement XI, Giovanni Francesco Albani, 1700–21, prompted by the Dominicans, Franciscans, and Augustinians denounced these Chinese rites as pagan and forbade Catholics to take part, Emperor Kangxi became angry. The result was that some missionaries and faithful lay people were killed, and many churches destroyed. But the Christian presence remained. Ricci died in Beijing in 1610. First persecutions. In 1648 Manchu Tartars who were hostile to Christianity invaded the region of Fujian and beheaded a Dominican priest, Francis Fernandez de Capillas, while he recited the sorrowful mysteries of the Rosary. The second wave of persecutions, 18th century. Towards the middle of the 18th century another 5 Spanish missionaries, who worked in China between 1715 to 1747, were put to death as a result of a new wave of persecution that started in 1729 and broke out again in 1746. This was in the epoch of Emperor Yongcheng and of his son, Qian Lung. Those killed were Dominican Bishop Peter Sanz Ayurda, martyred at Fuzhou in 1747, and 4 Dominican priests, Francis Serrano, Joaquim Royo, John Alcabar, and Francis Diaz, all killed on October 28, 1748. The third wave of persecution, early 19th century, 1805–60. The third wave of persecution of Christianity took place in the early years of the 19th century. While Catholicism had been authorized by some emperors, Emperor Qin, 1796–1821, published decrees against it. The first was issued in 1805. 2 edicts of 1811 were directed against those among the Chinese who were studying to receive sacred orders, and against priests who were propagating the Christian religion. The following is an account of the martyrs of that period. Peter Wu, a Chinese lay catechist. Born of a pagan family, he received the baptism in 1796 and passed the rest of his life proclaiming the Christian religion. All attempts to make him apostates were in vain. He was sentenced and strangled on November 7, 1814. Joseph Zhang Dapen, a lay catechist, and a merchant. Baptized in 1800, he evangelized in the city of Konyang. He was imprisoned and strangled on March 12, 1815. Bishop John Gabriel Torren Dufresne of the Paris Foreign Society was put to death in 1815. Father Augustine Zhao Rong, a Chinese diocesan priest. He had been a soldier who had escorted Monsignor Dufresne from Chengdu to Beijing, and was moved by his patience and asked to be baptized. He was then sent to the seminary and then ordained a priest. Arrested, he suffered the cruelest tortures and died in 1815. Father John de Triora OFM was put in prison together with others in the summer of 1815, condemned to death, and strangled on February 7, 1816. Father Joseph Yuan, a Chinese diocesan priest. Greatly influenced by Monsignor Dufresne, Joseph was baptized and ordained and preached Christianity in various districts. Arrested in August 1816 and strangled on June 24, 1817. Vincentian priest Father Francis Regis Clet set out for China in 1791 and for 30 years evangelized 3 provinces of the Chinese Empire, Jiangxi, Hebei, Hunan. Betrayed by a Christian, arrested, imprisoned, he was tortured and strangled on February 17, 1820. Father Thaddeus Liu, a Chinese diocesan priest. Condemned to death and strangled on November 30, 1823. Chinese lay catechist Peter Liu. He was arrested in 1814 and condemned to exile in Tartary, where he remained for almost 20 years. Returning to his homeland, he was again arrested and was strangled on May 17, 1834. Chinese lay catechist Joachim Ho. He was baptized at age 20. In the Great Persecution of 1814, he was tortured and sent into exile in Tartary, where he remained for almost 20 years. Returning to his homeland, he was arrested again and refused to apostatize. Following that, the death sentence was confirmed by the emperor, and he was strangled on July 9, 1839. Paris foreign missionary priest Father Augustus Chapdelaine went to China in 1852. He arrived in Guangxi at the end of 1854. Arrested in 1856, he was tortured, condemned to death in prison, and died in February 1856. Chinese layman Lawrence Bai Xiaoman, an unassuming worker. He joined Father Chapdelaine in the refuge that was given to the missionary and was arrested with him and brought before the tribunal. Nothing could make him renounce his religious beliefs. Beheaded on February 25, 1856. Agnes Cao Guiying, a widow, born into an old Christian family. She was dedicated to the instruction of young girls who had recently been converted by Father Chapdelaine. Arrested, imprisoned, and executed on March 1, 1856. 3 catechists, known as the Martyrs of Mao Cao, in the province of Guizhou, were killed on January 28, 1858, by order of the Mandarin of Mao Cao, Jerome Lu Tingmei, Lawrence Wang Bing, Agatha Lin Zhao. All 3 were asked to renounce Christianity. They refused and were beheaded. 2 seminarians and 2 lay people, one of whom was a farmer, the other a widow who worked as a cook in the seminary, suffered martyrdom together on July 29, 1861. They are known as the Martyrs of Qinjiansan. Guizhou seminarians Joseph Zhang Wenlin and Paul Chen Chongping, along with John Baptist Luo Tingling, a layman, and Martha Wang Luo Monde, a laywoman. In the following year, on 18 and February 19, 1862, another 5 people gave their lives for Christ. They are known as the Martyrs of Guizhou. Father John Peter Neal, a priest of the Paris Foreign Missions Society, and 4 lay catechists Martin Wu Shuizheng, John Zhang Tianshan, John Chen Xianheng, and Lucy Yi Zhenmiai. The Opium War, a reprieve from persecution. Political events towards the end of this period caused a reprieve in the persecution of Christians. In June 1840, the Imperial Commissioner of Guangdong, wishing to abolish the opium trade that was being conducted by the British, had more than 20,000 chests of this drug thrown into the sea. This was the pretext for war, which was won by the British. When the war came to an end, China had to sign in 1842 the first international treaty of modern times, followed quickly by others with America and France. At this time, France replaced Portugal as the power to protect the missions. And subsequently, a twofold decree was issued, one part in 1844 which permitted the Chinese to follow the Catholic religion, the other, in 1846, with which the old penalties against Catholics were abolished. From then on the Church could more openly carry out its missionary activity, developing it also in the sphere of higher education, in universities, and in scientific research. Closer links were gradually established between the Church and China with its rich cultural traditions. So this was an era of expansion in Christian evangelizing until the period of the Boxer Rebellion, 1899 to 1900. When there was a push for the reinstatement of Chinese values. This resulted in the martyrdom of more missionaries and many Catholic Chinese. Persecutions associated with the Boxer Rebellion, 1900. The following groups mostly of the Franciscan family were martyred at this period and afterwards. The martyrs of Shaanxi killed on July 9, 1900, who were Franciscan friars minor. These were 2 Franciscan bishops Gregory Grassi and Francis Fagala, 2 priests Frs Elias Facchini and Theodoric Ballat, and 1 religious brother, Brother Andrew Bauer. The martyrs of southern Hunan, who were also Franciscan friars minor, Bishop Anthony Fantazati, and Fathers Joseph Mary Gambaro and Cecidio Giacomantegno, martyred around the same time. There were also 7 Franciscan missionaries of Mary, 3 of whom were French, 2 Italian, 1 Belgian, and 1 Dutch, Sisters Mary Ermina of Jesus, Irma Grivet, Mary of Peace, Mary Ann Giuliani, Mary Clare, Clelia Nanity, Mary of the Holy Birth, Joan Mary Kerguin, Mary of Saint Justice, Anne Morrow, Mary Adolphine, Anne Dierck, and Mary Amandina, Paula Juris. There were also 11 secular Franciscans, all Chinese. 5 of these were seminarians, John Zhonghuan, Patrick Dong Bodhi, John Wang Rui, Philip Zhongzhai He, John Zhong Jingguang. 6 others were laymen, catechists, servants, and laborers, Thomas Shen Jai He, Simon Chin Kunfu, Peter Wu Anbang, Francis Zhang Rong, Matthew Feng Di, Peter Zhang Banyu. Another Chinese lay faithful were, James Yan Qiudong, farmer, James Zhao Quangzhen, manservant, Peter Wang Erman, cook. 4 French Jesuit missionaries and at least 52 Chinese lay Christians, men, women, and children, the oldest of them being 79 years old, while the youngest was aged only 9 years, all suffered martyrdom in the month of July 1900. The Jesuits' priests were, Fathers Leo Mangan, Paul Den, Remy Isor, Modest and Lauer. The Chinese lay Christians were as follows. Mary Zhu born Wu, aged about 50 years, Peter Zhu Rixen, 19, John Baptist Zhu Weryui, 17, Mary Fu Gillen, 37, Barbara Kui born Lien, 51, Joseph Ma Taishun, 60, Lucy Wang Cheng, 18, Mary Fan Kun, 16, Mary Chi Yu, 15, Mary Zheng Su, 11, Mary Du born Zhao, 51, Magdalene Du Fengzhu, 19, Mary Du born Tian, 42, Paul Wu Anjiu, 62, John Baptist Wu Mantang, 17, Paul Wu Wanshu, aged 16, Raymond Li Chuanzhen, 59, Peter Li Quanhui, 63, Peter Zhao Mingzhen, 61, John Baptist Zhao Mingzi, 56. Teresa Chen Tinja, 25, Rose Chen Ija, 22, Peter Wang Ziuolong, 58, Mary Guo born Li, 65, Joan Wu Wenian, 50, Zhang Huilu, 57, Mark Qitian Chang, 66, Annan born Xin, 72, Marian born Guo, 64, Annan born Zhao, 26, Marian Linghua, 29, Paul Lu Jinda, 79, Joseph Wang Kuahu, aged 37, John Wang Kuoksan, 25, Teresa Zhang born He, 36, Lang born Yang, 29, Paul Lang Fu, 9, Elizabeth Qin born Bian, 54, Simon Qin Kun Fu, 14, Peter Lu Ziyu, 57, An Wang, 4. Joseph Wang Yumei, 68, Lucy Wang born Wang, 31, Andrew Wang Tianqing, 9, Mary Wang born Li, 49, Qi Zuz, 18, Mary Zhao born Guo, 60, Rose Zhao, 22, Mary Zhao, 17, Joseph Yuan Zhenjian, 47, Paul Ge Tingzhu, 61, and Rose Fan Hui, 45. Alberic Crescitelli was a priest of the Pontifical Institute of Foreign Missions of Milan, PIME, who carried out his ministry in southern Shaanxi. He was martyred on July 21, 1900. 2 Salesians in 1930. Some years later, 2 members of the Salesian Society of St. John Bosco were added to the martyrs recorded above. Bishop Louis Versiglia and Father Callistus Caravario were killed together on February 25, 1930 at Leithout, Seoul.